Hey friends, welcome back to the channel with another movie reaction. Today we are watching The Greatest Showman, and we wrapped up In the Heights a couple weeks ago, maybe even a couple months ago at this point. And we have some musicals made into movies coming in the winter with Dear Evan Hansen and West Side Story, but I wanted to get something to tide us over in the meantime, so this is where I landed with The Greatest Showman. I know some of the stars in this. Hugh Jackman, I've only seen him in X-Men and Eddie the Eagle, loved him in that. And I know Zendaya is in this, and she's great on Euphoria. I've seen her in that and in the Spider-Man movies. I haven't seen Zac Efron in anything, and I think that's all I know from the main cast. But I also saw an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine where Charles Boyle pretended to be the Greatest Showman. So that was interesting. So I know like bits and pieces of what this movie is about, but not even, I don't even know the overarching story. But I'm excited to get into this. If you want to watch the full reaction or you want to see movie reactions a week early, check out Patreon in the link in the description below. Otherwise, take a quick moment to leave a like and let's get started. Whoa. There's no net or anything. Is this all in his imagination? Oh.
I understand, yes.
That's his dream when he's... Oh, he's a... Oh.
Stay away from my daughter.
It's very romantic. For a bunch of 8-year-olds. Oh no! Oh.
I will take care of your daughter and I will give her life as grand as this one. She'll be back.
Wow. Oh. At least she can... At least he's not so controlling that she can't go.
Can I have your attention? You're all dismissed.
You're home early.
And until further notice.
Time to take some risks, it seems like.
What are you looking at, Flopdoodle?
Flopdoodle?
The bank is going to need substantial collateral.
I wouldn't suggest otherwise. The deed entitled to my entire flotilla of trading vessels.
Oh man. I'm not entirely sure.
Welcome to the Barnum Museum. It is 1 hour of your time, sir, but it will change your life.
Welcome to the Barnum Museum, where everyone's...
How many tickets?
3.
Oh, and it's his own family. The apple. I mean, it's not the same apple as he got when he was a kid, but it reminds him of.
I am putting together a show, and I need a star.
You want people to laugh at me?
People will come from all over the world, and when they see him, they won't laugh.
Selling him a dream.
Please leave me alone.
You know, people aren't going to like it if you put us on the stage.
Oh, I'm counting on it.
Oh. He's onto something here. I don't know if marketing will work out well enough for it to work out. Oh, the puffing of the chest. This is a happy start to a movie where it can only go down from here before coming back up. But,
Does it bother you that everything you're selling is fake?
Did he smile seem fake? Mr. Bennett, that word you used to describe my show
circus.
has a nice ring to it.
P.T. Barnum Circus.
Oh, I know what it is. Peanuts.
Peanuts.
P.T. Barnum.
From the circus?
Yes. You've been?
God, no. But I have seen the crowds. Just say that I find it much more comfortable admiring your show from afar.
Comfort, the enemy of progress.
Do you understand?
Oh.
Well, it's intriguing, but to go would cost me greatly. So what percentage of the show would I be taking?
Oh. Well, hello there.
The master of the household has it in command of the Queen to invite Mr. Phineas T. Barnum and his theatrical troupe to a reception at Buckingham Palace.
What?
Are we all invited?
I guess I'll just have to tell the Queen that either all of us go, or none of us will.
You're even smaller than I imagined.
Well, you're not exactly reaching the top shelf yourself, sweetheart.
Clutch the pearls.
I'd like to bring you to New York. And if you agree, I'll make you the most famous singer not in Europe, but in the entire world.
Why me?
People come to my show for the pleasure of being hoodwinked. Just once I'd love to give them something real.
Are you happy?
I will be if this works. Oh God, I hope she can sing.
How does it feel for the people who've been around to, I don't know, to have their shows be called like illegitimate, fraud, and hoaxes? Oh, the critic. Oof. Oh, there we go. You see the seeds being laid for.
Think she likes a man?
Oh, Barnum.
I'm sure she does. What are you doing here? You got a show in an hour, okay?
It feels like they've been used and then cast aside.
I'm sorry. I believe there's only supposed to be one.
No, there's meant to be two.
Associating yourself with that Barnum business is one thing, but parading around with the help.
Great first time at the theater.
How dare you speak to her like that?
You've never had somebody look at you the way your parents looked at me.
That's true enough.
The way everyone would look at us.
How do we rewrite the stars? Say you were made to be mine, but I can't have you. We're bound to break and my hands are tied.
Sorry, I do want to give more commentary during the song, guys, but I don't want to speak over the song either. But wow,
First,
that
I was
was
buying a house on the same
sad.
street as my parents. I do understand.
No, you don't understand.
How could you?
Oh, come on. She gave up everything to be with you, and she was happy regardless of how much money you had, and you throw that back in her face, you could never understand. She's... There's a love triangle brewing, right? Very prominent empty chair. The silence in the face of the cheers is a very good directorial choice. Barnum.
I'm just another one of your little maggots.
Oh.
This is our town, son. We think you should leave. You
This fuckers.
and your freaks and your spooks.
Oh.
Sir.
Oh, it's all burning down.
No, is everyone out? Is everyone okay? WD, where's Ann? Where's Ann? Where's Ann? No! Here she is!
Oh shit! He went in already. All right. You have fire insurance on this, right? Is this the critic?
If you've come to gloat, I wouldn't.
I never liked your show.
Kicking him while he's down.
People did. Putting folks of all kinds on stage with you. Another critic might have even called it a celebration of humanity. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
Charity? Oh, God, Charity.
I don't want to talk to you.
Our own mothers were ashamed of us. Then you pull us out of the shadows. Maybe it was just about making a buck. But you gave us a real family. And we will come back home. We will come back home.
I wanted to be more than I was.
I understand that
I
feeling.
never wanted anything but the man I fell in love with.
Meg said no.
Emphatically.
Oh boy.
Repeatedly.
When I first met you, I had an inheritance, claim, an invitation to every party in town. All that's left is friendship, love, and a work that I adore.
Money the bank would take joy as collateral.
They may not. But I will.
Aw.
Philip, I can't let you gamble it on me.
Sure you can.
Don't turn sensible on us now.
I don't know how we're gonna afford a building.
I can get land down by the docks for almost nothing. All we need is a tent.
An actual circus. Baby elephant. Well-trained lions.
This is for you.
What will you be doing?
Watching my girls grow up. The show must go on.
This is the greatest show. Yeah, really enjoyed the emotional playthrough of this movie. Everything seemed to be going a little too well for like the majority of the movie, and his head got too big. He started chasing things that took him away from what was important. So it's a good ending. Oh, this film is all kinds of fascinating, inspiring, and at times kind of heartbreaking. It actually feels like an incredibly long film, but not in a bad way at all. But it covers so much ground, there are so many themes, and it feels like the movie, it goes through many arcs. It covers racism, classism, and social structure in different ways. I probably won't talk too much about that because it's relatively straightforward in this movie. There's an almost Romeo and Juliet thing going on between Philip Carlyle and Anne Wheeler. Barnum gets looked down upon for being new money. You're supposed to make your money the old-fashioned way, inheriting it from your parents. And the way everyone faces these issues in this film are extremely compelling. And I think I'll start this commentary mostly with a discussion about the music, and it's spectacular throughout the film. Each musical number is just really great, and I love the detail of how muted everything becomes after a performance, either that Barnum puts on or that he's listening to. Barnum can barely hear the applause because he himself is so captivated by the performances, and the adrenaline that rushes through him knowing he's contributed to something so great overwhelms him. Should I run through the songs one by one? Because I kind of want to, but it's going to take a long time. All right. I'll rapid fire some of them. The Greatest Show is a heck of an opening number. The way it ended with a young Barnum looking through the window, showing that he was just imagining it. That was great. Or it's possible that it was just juxtaposing his future with his past. Either way, very well done. A Million Dreams is so moving. I've been saying this to my close friends recently, but I had such big dreams when I was a kid. I wanted to change the world, possibly help save it by tackling some of the biggest issues of our time. But while living with depression for almost 2 decades, possibly longer, it was all I could do to survive for a while. And after going to therapy, no longer being depressed, having a channel now that can sustain me, I find myself staying awake at night thinking about how to make this world a better place, and I want to do more. And watching this movie and listening to this song, A Million Dreams, while I'm feeling this way, it hit pretty hard. Obviously, Barnum's dreams and my own are very different, but it's inspiring to see somebody go full tilt after their dreams, taking risk after risk. And the lyrics in A Million Dreams was like, hey, who wrote a song about me? Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make. God, it's so good. And also, the lesson that this movie teaches is that you can't be so focused on what you don't have and the things you haven't achieved that you forget about what's really important to you. Because Barnum left his family behind. And actually, just yesterday, I had this conversation with my best friend, and she was like, why do you feel like you need to change the world? Not discouraging me, but actually trying to help me see that just because I'm not advancing towards the nearly impossible goal of changing the world doesn't mean I should feel unsatisfied in my own life. So yeah, this movie basically hit me just at the right time in a lot of the right ways. And I mean, I thought for a while, maybe a couple of months, that YouTube was my dream. I quit my job to do this full time when I was making just like $200 a month with this. And it was like around 600 to 700 for like a full year. But as time went on, I realized it was just very appealing to work as my own boss. And I love I love sharing my thoughts with all of you. And I love doing it outside of the editing stuff. So thank you again, Danny, for editing this movie and for editing almost 50 movies at this point. But I guess YouTube, it's not my dream, but maybe I can find a way for it to be part of my dream someday. Anyway, the seed was planted early enough in this movie, early on with this song, that Barnum and Charity had different priorities. Because when he was singing this song, he looked through the window of like a really fancy restaurant and wanted to be on the other side. And Charity pulls him away. She wants to get on with their lives, and he's like focusing in on this fancy life that he wants to provide for her. And when she doesn't even need it. And then the reprise of that song with the daughters singing the same thing, he passes his dreams on to them, which is just something about that is so heartwarming. The wishing machine, though, it hurt Barnum so much that his daughter wished for ballet slippers, something so small that he couldn't provide for her. And I could understand that drive, but even he has enough to buy her anything. Even when he has enough to buy her everything, he doesn't stop. Come Alive. For so many people who have been ostracized from society for so long, it's the first time they're appreciated in some sense, and so they have this newfound confidence. They figuratively come alive, and it's a great song as well. It's the start of a realization of a dream as well. Dreaming with your eyes wide open was the line. And there's a little rain on the parade by the critic, who I looked up. Apparently, he was a racist douchebag who argued for the Confederacy to secede. So yeah, we'll talk about the real life P.T. Barnum a little bit later too. But yeah, the next song, The Other Side, was great. Between Zac Efron and Hugh Jackman. Real nice dance and song showing Barnum trying to rope in Carlisle. You could feel the push and pull throughout the song, and with the music and the choreography. Really well done. It might be it's not particularly emotional, but it might be the one that makes me want to dance around the most. But yeah, it's a really compelling story too. A man who feels that even though he has so much, he feels trapped, but doesn't want to admit it. And I like that he agrees with Barnum before he even sees the act. And then time stops for a moment when he saw Anne for the first time. I mean, whose heart wouldn't? It's Zendaya. Like, whose heart wouldn't stop, right? And then Barnum's all or nothing, no risk it, no biscuit kind of attitude is very interesting as well. Even gets Jenny Lind to come to America to try to be the next big thing here. And I love how Barnum doesn't even have to hear her sing to hire her. He was like, oh God, I hope she can sing, like right before her first performance for him. But yeah, Never Enough is freaking fantastic. Before Lind fully shows off her pipes though, that lyric, you set off a dream in me, she looked directly at Barnum when she said it, and I was like, oh shit, love triangle. But it's a great song and a great performance. And I did mention at the start of this review, this film was fascinating and inspiring and heartbreaking. I think I've covered the first two a little bit, but the heartbreak. My biggest moment of heartbreak with this film was after that song. I think other people's biggest moment of heartbreak for this movie might be at a different time, but Barnum had been so good to the people he hired for the circus. He brought them together, made them successful, made people look at them differently, and probably most important for them, help them look at themselves differently. And that's something that's so great and amazing. And yet, after Jenny Lind performed, when he closes the door on them to that party, wow, that took the wind completely out of my sails. I mean, The situation has parallels to how his father-in-law and upper society treats him. Charity's father looked down on him and tried to keep him out, even cutting off his own daughter to do so. And once Barnum gets to be somewhat part of this upper crust, he tries to keep these like lower class people out so as to not tarnish the name he's building with Jenny Lind. And it broke my heart because I was rooting for this guy to succeed so much through the first half of the film. I mean, it doesn't take away from what he gave to the people in the circus, and I think by the end of the film, he's in a place where he'd never do something like that again, but he also never apologized to them for it, so I don't know. I believe that Barnum wanted to take these people who were looked down upon and help raise them up, but at that particular point in time, his personal ambitions surpassed that, everything else came secondary, and he had to take it to the next level. He had to reach out for the attention and admiration of people he didn't care about, people he described as snobs, and no matter what level of success he finds, it'll never be enough, never be enough for me. Okay, I'm done now, guys, but I love that song so much that I had to sneak it in here somewhere. But I need to get to the rest of the songs much faster, or this will be like half an hour long. I heard that This Is Me. I had heard This Is Me before, but I had no idea that it originated with this movie. A great song proclaiming the pride that the circus troupe had in themselves after Barnum shut them out. Rewrite the Stars is very good, very romantic, and the choreography is fantastic. Zac Efron and Zendaya ramming into each other and twirling, beautifully done. Reminded me of a scene in Final Fantasy X where the twirling is meant as a metaphor for having sex, and I don't think that's the case here, but it's possible. But yeah, Tightrope might have been my least favorite song in the movie, but I still liked it a lot. The thing Barnum says right before Charity sings it, though, really stung, because if you guys know me at all, you know that I try to be as cognizant of issues of power and privilege as possible. But Barnum saying that she'd never understand his drive because she grew up rich, essentially, that was a low, low blow, because she gave up all of that for you, and you went and chased it at the cost of being with her. So yeah, that was really frustrating as well. And then the ambush kiss happened, and then the burning of the circus. Everything comes tumbling down really, really quickly. Normally with a story structure, you face the bad news or hardship. You start facing bad news or hardship much earlier, but we're in the third act when it happens. Carlisle goes in after Anne, and then Barnum goes in after Carlisle, so wow. And Barnum wound up losing everything. Lynn's not working for him anymore. The circus is burned down. His wife leaves him. And the circus, I think the circus is the greatest amount of good he ever did for others. And that's what brings him back on his feet from now on. And it's very satisfying the way that ends. It focuses him on reprioritizing his life and just being happy with everything he has. It's a lesson I'll have to learn and remember one day when I'm actually happy with what I have. And I guess another lesson is not to do an all or nothing approach to everything, or have someone in your corner who will look out for you, because Carlisle and his 10%, he pocketed it and saved it because he knew what kind of person Barnum was. And you need to do business with somebody who will have your back like that. And also, when I was watching it for the first time, I was like, do they not have rental insurance? But I think that's much more of a recent thing. But yeah. And then the final song, a reprise of This Is the Greatest Show. The song acts as bookends for the entire movie, but as it fades out, the melody still plays as Barnum watches his daughter dance. This is the greatest show, which is a great final moment. And all right, I talked about a lot about how much I love this movie, so now to touch back on what I mentioned before about the real P.T. Barnum. I did kind of had to I didn't know anything about him before this movie, but I did kind of have to suspend my disbelief watching this film. Given that P.T. Barnum was a real person, while I was watching this film, it occurred to me right away that this was a highly sanitized, fictional version of him, and I had no doubt in my mind that the real Barnum exploited his workers, that perhaps he even targeted people to hire because no one in society would speak up for them if he mistreated them. And sure enough, I looked it up, and his very first act that he peddled was a black woman named Joyce Heth, who he marketed as the 161-year-old wet nurse for George Washington. And so how did Joyce Heth come to be in Barnum's show? He bought her as a slave. So yeah, ultimate form of exploitation. Also turns out the bearded lady's real name was Annie Jones, and apparently Barnum hired her when she was 1 year old, paid her parents. But yeah, you guys saw my reaction. I still thoroughly enjoyed the film despite me thinking these things. I don't think it's necessarily an either or situation. I think you can enjoy the film and the story it tells while also being critical of the people it portrays. And it's up to each individual to decide where that line is of like, oh, I'm not going to enjoy this anymore because I don't like this person is like horrible. But I do think this film is an important reminder that very often media will try to lionize undeserving people. And while you can still enjoy movies like this, it's important to know the context and not worship and admire people who, quite frankly, sucked. I mean, we still have people who worship Robert E. Lee. Columbus Day is still inexplicably a thing. And it's not just historical figures either. The media made Governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, out to be a hero for the way he was handling COVID in New York. People were saying that they were Cuomo-sexual for a while. I was so frustrated during that time because all of the information was out there that he was an incredibly shitty person. He cut Medicaid and Medicare in New York during the frickin' pandemic. That's healthcare for poor people and old people, for those of you who don't live in the United States. And you could find the problems with the nursing homes before it became national news. We knew he put active people with active COVID back into nursing homes. It was horrible. But the media ran with the story that he was some sort of hero, and so many people bought into it. On the other side of the coin, conservative media played up Trump as some kind of god king, and he was way worse even. I would highly recommend everyone read the book by Noam Chomsky and Edward S. Herman called Manufacturing Consent, the Political Economy of the Mass Media, just to get a proper sense of how these movies and the news and shows, how they manipulate your perception of things. But people are complicated though. Barnum in his later years ran for public office and talked about regretting how he owned and whipped his slaves. How much of that is genuine and how much was it an act, a farce, a hoax that he put on like he always does? I don't know. He was mayor of a town at some point though, but luckily for us, this fictionalized version of Barnum is someone you really want to root for. First, everyone loves an underdog story. The way Charity's father looked down on him. The actor who played the father he really sold that he hated Barnum and everything he represented. And I guess he has that kind of, the actor, I've seen him in this kind of role before. I guess he has that kind of upscale hoity-toity kind of look. Like, this is the second time I've seen him. The first time being in Firefly. But yeah, Barnum lost his father, became homeless. He had a lot of cards stacked against him, so you naturally want to root for him. And I was compelled by the love story between Barnum and Charity too. The fact that he's played by Hugh Jackman, an actor who is notorious for being so incredibly nice, that doesn't hurt either. But yeah, this film was a lot of fun. One more thing. A little disappointing that in a movie that is supposed to be about being enough, regardless of who you are, what you look like, and just all of your personal traits, the main romances are between people who are all extremely conventionally attractive still. But still, like, both Barnum and Charity and Carlisle and Anne's stories are very compelling. And with Carlisle and Anne, there was this issue of dating outside your race, so we got to see that as well. Carlisle also got some shit for leaving his theater role to do the circus thing as well. I probably shouldn't have saved my worst thoughts about this movie for last, because I'm still going to give it a very solid score. You heard me gushing about it for like 15 minutes, right? And I do fear that a lot of people who watch this movie don't know the kind of person Barnum was, or that they won't think critically about how media manipulates their perception of things. But that doesn't have any impact on how I personally enjoyed the movie. So I'm gonna give this a 9.25. My favorite songs, you probably heard me sing them, has to be A Million Dreams and Never Enough. And so hopefully my singing wasn't too bad. I'm nursing actually a bit of a sore throat, but I couldn't help myself. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. This has been really fun. If you want to watch the full reaction, or you want to see movie reactions a week early, you can check out Patreon in the link in the description below. Otherwise, take a quick moment to leave a like, and I will see you guys next time. Bye friends.